Big news out of Anthropic. They just released a statement saying that they have accepted $5 billion in investment from Amazon and have pledged back $100 billion in cloud spending. The big amounts of money, big article, lots of news to talk about here. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we do, Jaden, why don't you tell them about our school community?
Every single week, Jamie and I record a bonus piece of content in our school community. This week, I do an entire breakdown of how I use the new Claude design tool to create a brand new software or a brand new website. It's a media company that I'm building. It basically is going to take every podcast we record here, and I have 3 other podcasts that I host. So every podcast I record, it's going to grab the transcripts and make articles about those news stories, and it'll throw quotes from the podcast inside of the articles as well. I'm super excited about it. It's an awesome project, but I use Claude Design to do the whole thing, and I make a tutorial about that. But we also have almost 100 other videos breaking down how we're using different software tools to actually grow and scale our businesses, make money. We show the financials, we show revenue. It's basically everything we don't share publicly. And we have like almost 300 members inside the school community. So lots of other people to bounce ideas off of and see where the puck is moving in the industry. So if you're interested in that, it's only $19 a month. We wanted to make this cheap, so basically anyone can sign up and get access to all the insider info. You can go check it out on our school community. All right, let's talk about Anthropic and this $5 billion that they've taken from Amazon. And in addition, we also have news from just a while back that Anthropic passed OpenAI in revenue, and apparently they're spending about 4 times less money. So I think both of these are wild stories. Anthropic apparently has hit $30 billion in annual recurring revenue run rate. So not actual annual recurring revenue, but it's like basically the run rate and the annual recurring revenue thing means like from today, their run rate would be $30 billion, but it's not like they're not actually making that much money total. It's just if everything they have today keeps up, they extrapolate from today for the rest of the year. But anyways, whatever. It's an accounting thing. And this is up from $1 billion in January of 2025. So
Wow, that's
a
crazy.
little bit over a year ago, they were at 1 billion and they're now at 30. That is an absolutely colossal run. OpenAI is at about $25 billion in annual recurring revenue. Now, there is some drama on how we are calculating these numbers that we'll get into, but I guess just right off the bat, Jamie, like what are your thoughts about Anthropic passing OpenAI?
It's an absolutely insane statistic. I never thought, I always thought OpenAI was untouchable, but I really think the key here, in my opinion, is the positioning of Anthropic versus OpenAI. OpenAI is, geared towards maybe the everyday person searching up things. Maybe they're looking for the best product to buy, where Claude has from the beginning been primarily a business tool for coders, business developers, things like that. And so I think they're positioning as basically we can replace one or multiple employees with your $200 subscription. Paying $200 seems like almost like a no-brainer, where I could never picture myself paying the $200 a month for OpenAI, because that's not really what their value proposition is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when they were releasing these really cool new tools, it was fun to pay maybe for a month. I know you paid the $200 for OpenAI for 1 month to test out Sora when it came out. But aside from that, there's really not a lot of value proposition there, where Anthropic, it's like we can replace teams of people essentially for $200. So anyways, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I 100% think you agree there. They captured a really interesting industry. They first went for coders, which already was a really high paying job. And so coders are like, well, I'm getting a lot of value out of this. It's worth paying $200. But then they moved into actual job functions with Claude Cowork. So any white collar worker can use it. But they're kind of built on the back of all of the reasoning that their code product had. Because code, it turns out is a really good way to think about the whole world when you're doing step-by-step processes. So I think that they've done a phenomenal job. Their growth revenue is absolutely crazy. So they're founded in 2021. In 2022, they made $10 million. In 2023, they made $100 million. In 2024, they were at $1 billion. In 2025, they were at $9 billion by the end of the year, $9 billion in basically annual recurring revenue. And so far in 2026, they're at $30 billion as of April. So $9 billion to $30 billion, I mean, that is just an absolute explosion of growth. And I think 100% this is being driven by Claude Cowork, which, by the way, OpenAI could have dominated this. No doubt in my mind, OpenAI could have dominated this because OpenAI had ChatGPT agents like a year ago, and I tested them and I paid $200 a month to get access to it, and their agents just weren't good enough. They just couldn't do what you wanted it to do. It was the computer use. It couldn't click on things enough. I would tell it how to do something. It would get stuck every 5 minutes. It would ask me to like intervene, or it'd ask me like, "Do you want me to continue?" And I'd be like, "Yes, continue. Don't ask me." It just wasn't good. So I just obviously I'm not going to pay $200 a month for something I have to babysit. Claude Cowork, on the other hand, when they finally got around to launching that product, I tell Claude Cowork to go build an entire website, and it builds the whole thing. I go review it, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. Go tweak this or that. But like it does the whole project in one shot. It sets up my servers, it sets up my domain registrar, it sets up my database. Like it literally does everything for me. Or it goes and scrapes all the data that I need from a bunch of different sources, puts them in a spreadsheet, and uploads them to a dashboard for me. Like this would take me tons of time. So yeah, things that I used to have literal job roles to do at AI Box, Claude Cowork now does. And a lot of automations that I've been able to build with Claude Cowork. So I'll use Claude Code to build a tool that then automates that job function. So it's like I'm seeing literal, real job function replacement and company growth from this tool. Yeah, $200 a month. Of course, I'll pay that. Like, I don't care. I want every single employee at my company to have a $200 a month subscription to this thing because I know that it's going to make them 10 times more productive. And so
Yep.
that's the value proposition for enterprise. That's why Anthropic is growing like crazy. It's not because like random users are paying for it. It's because business users are and businesses are paying for this for their employees, and white collar workers are paying for this where they see like $200 a month saves them so much time and makes them so much more productive. And that's just not something you see with average consumers that might ask ChatGPT, hey, like give me some advice on like a health question I have, or help me generate a cute picture of my dog. They're not going to pay $200 a month for that.
Absolutely. Yep. So let's go back to this story about the Amazon investment in Anthropic. And Amazon pledged $5 billion, which is crazy. So Amazon's total investment up to this point in Anthropic is up to $13 billion. But Anthropic in turn has planned to use Amazon Web Services for their cloud computing data centers, things like that, to the tune of 100 billion over the next 10 years. So I think it's kind of one of those things again where you sort of have circular investments here.
Yeah.
It's like I'll invest in you if you invest in me kind of thing. And there's been some speculation around that as far as like is this an AI bubble? But in this case, I don't think that really applies. Jaden, what are your thoughts on the investment side?
Yeah, you're right. It is interesting. AWS and Amazon have kind of been one of the oldest investors of Anthropic. I mean, I remember when they first like reported that they were going to do a $5 or $4 billion tranched investment in Anthropic a couple years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like so much money. That's insane. And then you literally have Sam Altman that just went out and raised 120, billion-dollar or $110 billion funding round for ChatGPT like I guess 2 months ago, and then we're just like, well, I guess you can just raise over $100 billion in funding for your company if like that's what you want to do. So, anyways, it is interesting. Anthropic always felt like the underdog in a sense that they couldn't get as much money as OpenAI could get in their funding rounds, and yet they're making so much in revenue that it sort of solves the problem, right? Like, and the other interesting thing is, OpenAI, I think, is actually is burning way more money, and which is why you see them cutting back on models like Sora. You see them trying to refocus. They said they're going to go after the coding component. And to OpenAI's defense, now on the whole thing with Anthropic passing them in how much money they make, I've heard a lot of people say that the way they calculate revenue is different, and so that it's not actually passed. And OpenAI, in a specific thing I saw, said like the only reason why Anthropic looks like they're making 30 billion is because they had like a $8 billion one-time deal with a company. I need to do more research on what exactly that was. But I mean, without that, they'd be at 22. But I mean, even if they were at 22 instead of 25, they have raised and they spend 4 times less money on training runs than OpenAI. So like, and they've raised way less money. So to be fair, it seems like a way more capital efficient company, which is probably going to win it in the long run.
Yeah, and apparently there's more to this deal than just cloud data centers. It's a big part of this is actually Amazon has these custom chips that they're developing. One called Graviton, which is a low power CPU, and then Trainium, which is an NVIDIA competitor in AI accelerator chips. It seems like there's more than just data center investment here. It has to do with the chips as well. Have you heard anything on that, Jaden?
Amazon basically has a great strategy here. They have some chips that they want to, and we've actually seen this played out by Microsoft, is exact same strategy. Basically, these guys, they have their new chips, they have their new infrastructure, they want to make sure that it's industry standard and it's good enough for everybody. And so by partnering with someone like Anthropic, I mean, Amazon's done this from day one, partnering with Anthropic, so it's really smart on their part. They get Anthropic to not only test their chips, but it's also kind of like the biggest credibility statement for any other company wanting to train an AI model. They're like, look, Anthropic is using our chips to train their models. It's good enough for you, right? Like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
and Microsoft did the same thing with OpenAI when they gave them $10 billion in the early days, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's so much money. A huge part of that deal was just Microsoft being like, and OpenAI is training everything on Microsoft Azure and using our infrastructure, and they're optimizing their infrastructure for exactly what OpenAI needs, which means they're optimizing it for what the entire industry needs, an industry that is spending an insane amount of money. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think Amazon's got great chips, but I think it's an even better deal for them to have working on something with Anthropic, where Anthropic is going to help them optimize those chips, optimize the infrastructure, and kind of be the poster child. So everyone else is going to pay them a lot of money too.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, hey, if you enjoyed this episode or got any value out of it, we would really appreciate a rating or review wherever you're listening. We really appreciate those, and they help us reach more people. I'm trying to get to 100 reviews on Apple Podcasts. So if you're listening on Apple, please drop some stars for us. We'd really appreciate it. And then also be sure to check out our school community if you want to learn how to use some of these tools to actually make money and grow your business. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.